Not yet. Good afternoon. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act, 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. We acknowledge the land that we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone, and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you'll be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. With respect to hearing procedure, I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. All right, so before we begin, Do we have any declarations of interest of the panel or staff on any of the items in the 2 p.m. slot? No. Okay. And Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, do we have any requests for deferral?
Through you, Madam Chair, we have one, and I kind of lost it at this point. It's item number 21. 26 Birdsall.
Thank you. 26 Birdsall, do we have the applicant with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Xin Tong. The address is 3 Old English Lane. So we would like to request a deferral for our project to allow more time to communicate it with the transportation department.
Okay. I don't see anybody else wishing to address the committee. So do the members have any questions for the applicant? No? All right. So I guess we can take this into committee for a decision. Does anybody want to go ahead?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to forward a motion to defer this application that gives appropriate time to the applicant to address the issues that they have mentioned.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Mr. Allison? All right. All in favor of the deferral request? That's unanimous. Your application has been deferred.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we're back to item 15, which is 6464 to 6600 Yonge Street. This is an application for a recreational entertainment center, and this is a deferral from October 24th, 2024. The variances are to have more than 121 more than 12. More than 12 amusement devices. They have 88. On file, we have a survey, plans, amusement device count, cover letter, site photo, and Metrolinx comments. Could we have the applicant, please?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Mengchen Xu. My address is 1505 150 Fairfield Mall Drive, North York, Ontario, M2J0E7.
Thank you. And do you have any changes to make to the application today?
No changes.
Thank you. All right, we do have a neighbor indicated. Are we sure this is for the right application? Yes? Just questioning the address, but. I guess we do. All right.
Sorry, Madam Chair. It doesn't appear that they're present. We have Murray McPherson, right, on our list, but they do not appear in our participant list.
Okay. I just wonder if it's not that application. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. So you are here for this application? I didn't think so. I thought so. Okay. All right. So we don't have anybody, any neighbors to address the Yonge Street application. So we can take this into committee. Some of us are familiar with the application because we saw it previously in October and we know what the issue was with the numbers of amusement devices. So I don't think we need a presentation unless anyone on committee wants one. No. Okay. So we'll take this into committee. Go ahead.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. If there are no comments from the colleagues, I'd like to forward a motion to approve this application. Yes, as you mentioned, it was before us in the past, and I think it's that basically it's an application that I could support.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Okay, Mr. Kibu is seconding it, and all those in favor? That's unanimous, and your application's been approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, item 16 1 BRAESIDE Crescent, this is an application to construct a new dwelling, and this was deferred from December 7th, 2023. We have variances for lot coverage, building height, side exterior main wall height, area of a platform at or above the second story. On file, we have the minutes from the previous meeting, a survey, plans, arborist report, tree inventory, letters of objection from 116 Braeside and 144 Milden Hall Road, and a late presentation from the applicant. So, do we have the applicant with us? Yes. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members. Ida Evangelista on behalf of the owners of 1 Braeside. I believe those letters of opposition that you referred to are old from the previous meetings.
Oh,
Yeah, they don't relate to this meeting. Yeah. So the application that you have in front of you, we have revised it.
sorry, can you
We
first,
have brought,
sorry, Miss Evangelista, could you please just state your name and address
Yes.
for the record?
oh, sure. My apologies.
That's okay.
It's Ida Evangelista, 53 Bentworth Avenue.
Thank you. And just to clarify then, staff, we don't have anybody to speak to this application? No, okay. Go ahead and say what you were going to say. I don't know, do we want a presentation? We do, okay. All right. You can proceed with a brief presentation.
Yes. So from this is an application that was deferred. You know, there was much pop and stance around this regarding a tree in the back that has all been resolved. We have also modified the application. We have the house itself. So let's talk coverage, because we are asking for an additional 2% coverage. The house itself is only 35%. The additional coverage comes from the areas below the front porch and at the back. But the house itself, again, is only 35%. We have on the west side, we have a length of 13.40 meters. And on the east side, we have a length of 13.50 meters, which is well below the 17 that is permitted. We've also added articulation to the front of the house. You'll see that there's molding across the top. So just to break up the facade of the house, the height that we are asking for is an additional 0.48, just to allow for the sloping and to allow for the architectural features on the roof line. And this is a house that we're proposing. It's for multi-generational. We have parents, we have children, and this gives everyone, and we have also, you know, the owners that do work from home. So this allows space for the very large family to live in and have their own private areas, especially for the parents. Now, the main wall height. So on the main wall height, you'll see the land slopes from the east up to the west. So on the east side, you'll see that we have a main wall height of 8.03 meters, but on the west side, we have 7.65. So due to the topography of the land, you know, it does have different variations of where you're standing. So with that, we did reduce the balcony in the back. Initially, we had approximately 10 square meters. We've reduced it substantially to 6.73. And I believe that the application that you now have in front of you from when it first started is a much better application. And I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Just one question, a clarification from me. The proposed height of the side exterior main walls, this doesn't say which side lot line, but you made reference to one of your side walls being less than 8.03?
Right, so if we look at the front elevation, we'll see that the land slopes up from east to west. So if you take, so I'm talking like if you're standing on the street and you're looking at the home itself. So on the east side, you'll see that there is a main wall height of 8.03. Did I get that right? Yes. On the east side, 8.03. But then if you see the land, how it slopes up, the topography of the land slopes up. So if you're standing on the west side, from the ground to the underside, it's approximately 7.65. But because of the slope from the garage to the street, on that side, we have a variance of 8.03. And that's to the eaves, but to the underside of the molding, it's about 7.95. But zoning's interpretation is to the eaves.
So you wouldn't have an objection to tying your variances to the elevation plans?
Madam Chair, not at all.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Allison, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question for the applicant. Are there any other houses in the immediate or broader area that you would say kind of reflect what's being proposed in terms of overall massing?
If you look at, I believe I provided in my submission page, and what I did was I just took what was in the immediate. You'll see 3 Rothmere, 1 Rothmere, 1 Proctor, and 114 Braeside have a lot of character. It is quite characteristic to what we're proposing at 1 Braeside.
Okay, yeah, I apologize. I just for my colleagues, there's some material that's in the late package, not in our.
Yeah, and it's odd because I did submit it on time. But
Okay, very good.
You have it now.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll take
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? No? Are we ready to take this into committee? Yes? All right, we'll take it into committee. Comments? Or a motion?
I have just a few comments. I have some concerns with respect to the massing, particularly with respect to height. It's just this specific application. I mean, typically in the area, you're looking at a 2-story program on the front, right? You've got ground level, second level. In this case, you've got as much as 4 on one side and 3 on the other. It's a very big house. And while I think when you look at the variances individually, I think it could be supportable, but when you put them together cumulatively, particularly the lot coverage, it's not the biggest of lots for a house this big, combined with the added height. I do have some concerns in that respect. The properties that the applicant brought up and submitted with similar building heights, again, you look at the overall program, it's very clear sort of 2-story program, the door at the ground level, garage, and then 1 story above that. Whereas in this case, you've got, on the garage level, you've got 3 levels, and then the mansard is big enough to support an entire 4th story without you even knowing it. So I've got some concerns in that respect. And I think that carries over from some of the initial concerns that were previously brought up. And while I'm happy to see the applicant has made some changes, I still feel that there's some massing concerns here.
Ms. Sankar?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Member Allison, for raising those points as well. The audio was coming in and out, so please forgive me if this has not been, this has already been answered by, the agent. But I did see a couple of letters of objections that seems to be really concerning, and a couple of it, the points raised was around, its fit within the neighborhood. And one letter specifically saying that it is, significant because that street, has bungalows, not 2 stories or larger developments. And this impacts the neighborhood as they had said. So I wondered if there was any sort of commentary around that we, if any of you know this area as well, to talk about that. But both letters also, even though we didn't really have anything that was noted for a urban forestry report, but, both are saying that a very healthy oak tree was poisoned in the backyard. So, all of these are just, for me, I'm finding these reports really, concerning.
Thank you. I don't know that we talked about those specifically, about the character. I mean, a 2-story house is permitted, and so, yeah, despite the fact that the neighborhood is predominantly bungalows, unfortunately, we all know it will change over time. These lots are obviously very valuable, and people are looking to build as much as they can within reason. So I think that's difficult to answer. We didn't ask the applicant about the concern about the tree, but there's no forestry comments, so I think we can accept that that has been dealt with. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Sure, if there's no other comments from my colleague, for the reasons that I stated, I'll put a motion forward to refuse the application.
All right, do we have a seconder? Ms. Sankar? Thank you. All those in favor of the motion to refuse the application? And those opposed? So we have 3 in favor and 2 opposed. The application is refused. The next item is item 17, 116 FELBRIGG Avenue. This is an application for a new 2-story detached dwelling with a rear deck and basement walkout, previously deferred from November 7th, 2024. We have before us variances for building length, height of exterior side main walls, height of main pedestrian entrance, level of floor of a platform at or below the 1st story, lot coverage, and front yard setback. On file, we have a survey, plans, tree photos, a letter of support from 114 FELBRIGG. And there was a previous letter of objection that was withdrawn, I believe, by the Residents Association. Do we have the applicant here?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. It's Jim Katsopoulos, 27 Field Flower Crescent in Richmond Hill. And Madam Chair, I was before this committee on November the 7th. And at that time, Madam Chair, the committee recommended strongly that because we had some letters of objection from the neighbors, and also there was a neighborhood association, they had asked the applicant to go back and have the discussions with those individuals, for which he did. And Madam Chair, before you, as you've alluded, you now have a letter of support from the residents at 114 FELBRIGG. And there's also, I believe, number 112, which would have shared the same concerns. And now you also have a letter of withdrawal in terms of any objections from the Resident Neighborhood Association as a result of the changes made by the applicant, Madam Chair. And that was basically to shift the proposed dwelling closer to the street, which precipitated this additional front yard variance, which was not here on November 7th. As a result of those changes, Madam Chair, we're of the opinion that the proposal before you and the variances are all appropriate. The lot coverage, of course, is in association with the fact that there are no side yard variances requested. There are no rear yard variances requested. There are no building dwelling, overall building dwelling height variances requested. And there's also a portion of that overage, Madam Chair, because of the rear deck. That's how you get to the 2.7% increase. The front yard setback, Madam Chair, still protects for the established building line. So there is no impacts on that. The maximum length, building length, Madam Chair, which was part of the initial concern, that is no longer an issue, in that the building has moved forward. So there is no impacts as a result of that. And the platform and the wall height side walls, Madam Chair, are all in conjunction with the fact that the primary dwelling itself is in compliance with the overall height. So those are our comments, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? Mr. Allison, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a clarifying point, just based off of the, going back to the previous submission and some of just to understand some of the revisions that have been made here. I understand that the building in its entirety is being pulled forward, which is what is creating the front yard setback variance. In terms of the overall size or massing of the building, has there been a reduction to the length of the building? Or has it just been moved on the site plan?
Madam Chair, no, there have not. Literally, we just took the building, the proposed dwelling, and we just shifted it forward in order to address the concerns by the abutting two neighbors.
Okay. And then on this particular street, there's a pretty clear delineation in terms of the front main wall and the rear main wall on these houses. And I might also add, it was brought up that this is a particular street where almost all of the houses on the street, particularly on this side of the street, have been rebuilt, a lot of them with variances already. And there was a concern brought up that this is sort of pushing beyond the limit of other houses that were just recently built. So I might ask you, what's the planning rationale to essentially kind of to encroach on these setbacks, particularly the front yard setback? Is there any planning rationale to justify it, or is it just a sort of request of the neighbor?
Through you, Madam Chair, we feel that the front yard, yes, that is to address the relationship between the two abutting properties, which are already a two-story dwellings. So, and we feel that the shift to the front yard that created the variance, and you could see that, Madam Chair, to the member, you could see how the building line, when you look at it relative to the two adjacent properties, is still protected and maintained without any impacts from a visual or any privacy issues. And there is no overall dwelling height increase requested. So the dwelling itself is in full compliance with the maximum building height.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right, I guess we can take this into committee for discussion or comments. Motion.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes?
Yeah, reviewing the materials, as it seems there's, based on the previous material from November, there have been substantial changes on the application. I would like to make, to put forward a motion to approve this application as it stands now with all the amendments. And I'm not seeing any conditions at this point unless my friends see any conditions. I don't see any conditions, so I will make a motion for this panel to approve the application as it stands.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Ms. Sankar? Thank you. All those in favor of this application? All right, and those opposed? Mr. Allison. That application has been approved. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you very much, Madam Chair and members.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, item 18, 254 CRANBROOKE Avenue. This is for a application to construct a new detached dwelling. We have variances for building depth, floor space index, driveway width, front yard landscaping, and percent of front yard soft landscaping. On file, we have plans, survey plans, arborist report, transportation services memo, and a letter of objection from 258 CRANBROOKE Avenue. Sorry, I'm just reading from the file that I had. That's okay. If you're an objection, we'll hear from you as well. All right, do we have the applicant? Oh, I believe we have the same applicant.
Good afternoon.
Were you muted? Okay.
I don't believe so.
That's okay. Do you have any changes to make to the application, first of all?
I do not, Madam Chair and Committee.
Okay. And we do have residents here, so we will ask for a brief presentation, and then we will hear from the residents. Thank you.
Yeah, if we could bring up the proposed site plan, please. Essentially, variances 3 through 5 really are all caused by the mutual right-of-way that is between the proposed dwelling and the dwelling to the east. If you look at the front, we have managed to curve around the trees on the city boulevard, again, actually being able to increase some of that soft landscaping. So really, when offering a garage with an integral garage on a house like this, it's really not possible to comply with the landscaping because, again, that mutual right-of-way must stay exactly as it is. Paved, and not as green area. In terms of the driveway width, again, that also is part and parcel to the request for the landscaping because, again, it does take the full width, which includes the right-of-way. This is a standard single-car integral garage. There's nothing special about it. It's not increased in width or anything like that. In terms of the variances that lead to the FSI as well as the depth, in my opinion, they are minor in nature as the adjacent dwellings to both the east and the west are already shallow and as they exist today. In my opinion, the increase of 1 meter in the depth does not really create any type of adverse impact that wouldn't already be felt with an as-of-right dwelling at 17 meters. As we can see here, the dwelling to the east does have a stone garage that is located there, which again somewhat mitigates the impact of that increase in depth. There is no request for a building height or any type of side main wall or front main wall height reduction. This is typical of what's happening on the street to both the east and the west in terms of the built form as it faces the street, as well as the building length. In my opinion, this is minor in nature. Even with the increase in depth, again, it's a building depth, not a building length, as the R zone does not regulate length. We are still able to satisfy the rear yard setback without an encroachment into that performance standard. I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions, committee, at this point? No? All right, so we will move forward to residents, and I believe we have 2 speakers in the audience today, so take your pick. It doesn't really matter who goes first. Just state your name and address, please, and make sure the microphone is on. There's a little switch.
Hello. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. Let me just say that my name is Michael Augustinovicius, Augustinavicius, and my wife is here as well, Sylvia Sarkis.
And your address, please?
250 CRANBROOKE.
Thank you.
We're immediately east, and we share a mutual drive between the 2 houses.
Okay, go ahead.
So I've done my best here to make some photographs and sort of mark them up. But first of all, we do not have a stone garage. We have a little shed which is made of wood and stucco. And that's it, and it's got a copper roof. And that you can see on the right there, near the bottom. The vertical line that you see is the height of around 27 feet that I calculated from the drawings submitted. And I've also shown the roof line, so I don't know, that's another number of feet, but regardless. And at the back, I've shown the privacy fence above or on the side of the deck. And what I want to point out here is just the amount of shadow this will cause in our garden, and you'll see the garden in a second. The red circled thing is the tree they want to remove that they had in the report. It's a healthy tree. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's right at the property line. And it blocks the view of the houses behind us, right? And to the left are 2 trees. One of them is very tall. The hawks land on it. And just a little closer is a white spruce. Next page, please. So that's the white spruce I'm referring to. The arborist report does not show this tree clearly. It shows a circle on the ground, but doesn't identify a tree. He has a table in that report, and it does not list this tree. So I question, is that tree coming down? And we're very upset if it does. And if I could go to the next one, please. Okay, there's the garden facing west, and you can see all the pots we put out every year. We've been doing this for about 37 years, right? And if I go to the, and so the area within the white that I've got X'd is essentially in shadow now, once this building goes up. Anytime after, I don't know, 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The actual house the wall of the house is parallel to the old house, or it continues the side of the old house. And so it's actually closer in there, and it's just the width of the driveway plus 1.5 feet or so. So not very much in terms of distance. If I could go to the next one, please. And this is looking north in the backyard. Again, we have pots everywhere. We have all kinds of gardens, and we grow vegetables and things. And again, the area I've shown will be in the dark. Okay, so it'll be getting about 50% of the sun it normally gets. Okay, and to the left you can see the so-called stone garage. It's not a garage, and it's 7.5 feet high. We made a low thing, so it's about the height of our fence there. Okay, and so there's the shade from that is not significant. What's going to happen here, and you'll be able to see that is that downward piece from the very high structure. If I could go to the next one, please. Okay, so I've got some written things here. I wanted to start with minor variance, okay? I don't know what the definition is. I've asked, but it seems hard to define. And I'd say perhaps it's 10%, maybe a little more, but it certainly is not 43%, okay? The added square footage at the back of the structure is walls to, I said 32 feet here because I included the roof when I was writing this, so I'm sorry. This blocks a significant portion of the view, which I've mentioned to you in photo 1. And in photo 1, you can see all these beautiful trees, and they've been there forever. The proposed finished basement is 849 square feet, and it's not included in the gross floor area of the 2,350 feet. Why has that been excluded? Again, I'm not a builder, but when I look at the numbers here, I'm an electrical engineer, or was. What I see here is that if you include it, it's 116% of the total lot square footage, right? And so I asked that question, why is it not treated? The other piece is the basement walkout, north wall located under, it has masonry that goes down from the ground level or a little higher to footings, and the footings are contiguous with the rest of the house. My question is, I don't know if it's going to be an insulated room or closed, they're going to put a door in there or what, but at the end of the day, why isn't that part of the house when you're actually measuring, the back of the house? Because that's underneath the deck, but it's got these walls. I don't know how my time is doing.
You've used up your time.
Oh.
So if you could just maybe make any last points.
Okay,
and, yeah.
So I've got a section here on the trees as well, and I've listed them. That they shouldn't be removed, and they shouldn't be damaged or injured. And my neighbor will talk more to that. And if I go further down, please. Could I go further down, please? Yeah, I've listed a bunch of things on the driveway, and those are probably future once the building permit's issued, but I wanted them noted on the record that, depending on what happens with the plumbing from the city side, I wanted addressed. And then in the plan drawings, Sylvia, please. On the plan drawings, I've listed a bunch of items in there that the numbers don't seem to add up to me in terms of the real elevation of the deck, which then has a privacy screen. Because maybe I've misread the documents, but I don't think so. And I've listed them out, so I'm not going to go through them. And the last piece is about the complaint about the notice process for the hearing, okay? There's no way the stakes were driven into the ground. It fell over 3 days later from the time it was put up. Yes, I saw it, but I'll tell you, I have a neighbor further next to me, east, and I'm sure they didn't see it. There's a neighbor behind the property, directly north of it, and they're away. They're not back till Saturday. So how come we're the only two people here? I don't think it's a fair shot. So I'm not criticizing how the council is working, but this isn't working because of the mail strike. I understand that. But, you can dream up alternatives or something to let the proper community know. So.
Thank you. We'll let the applicant address your comments when he comes back, but we'll hear from the other neighbor first.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Oh, sorry, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm trying to understand the nature of the right-of-way. It's my understanding, and I'll ask the applicant as well, but it's my understanding that 3 of the variances that are before us today are in order to facilitate a continued access to the rear via hardscaping. It isn't clear to me via the survey or site plan what is going on in your backyard and whether or not there was a garage or a parking pad. If you could provide some clarification as to what the right-of-way, what type of access that right-of-way is facilitating, whether it's pedestrian access or for a vehicle, that would be helpful. And then my second question to you is whether or not you're. I'm trying to understand what your concern is with respect to at least 3 of the variances. Because I noted it does look like they are asking for that in order to facilitate a widened driveway via hardscape. So my second question is whether or not you are supportive of those variances in order to facilitate that.
Maybe I could answer your second question first.
Sure.
The drawings that have been shown don't show a parking pad that we have. We don't have a garage.
Okay.
I have an electric car.
At the rear?
No, at the front.
Oh, at the front. Okay.
At the front, beside the driveway. So not in the mutual drive, but directly beside it.
Okay.
Going east. And we have a charging station there, and that's the only place I charge my car.
Okay.
So I need access 24 hours a day, like to get in there, okay? So I've asked them when they do construction, would they please put the fence down the middle like they plan to, but when they get closer to the street, that they put it at an angle so we can still get in through where the sidewalk drops, right, into the parking pad.
Okay.
Not a big deal, right?
So
to answer your first question, we use it for pedestrian, for taking out our recycling. We have a big recycling bin, one of the large ones, and all the other bins, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a gate opening in the wall that is south of that shed. And the purpose, the access we would need is, if we have to dig up something in the backyard, I have to be able to bring in some equipment, right? And so we want access for that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't have any issue. I understand that they have to maintain the access as part of the right-of-way, but I question whether or not that access that is maintained has to be a driveway or hardscaped. In a lot of cases, I mean, there's a large enough setback between the homes that it could be, and I even, to my observation, see that there is a little bit of soft landscaping there. So my question is, could you not maintain access? Are the variances required for the driveway widening, or could that be could the access still be maintained via a walkway with a landscaping buffer?
If they want to use the mutual drive to get into their driveway, or a little bit over from it, they could do that.
Well, they have more than enough room. I'm more concerned about you, because it looks like the request for the variances is in order to maintain access for you. But the question is, what type of access? Does it have to be a hardscape driveway? Okay, so then you would be in support of a widened driveway in order to ensure that that's all hardscaping to the property line. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
You're talking about their driveway to leave it beside.
I mean, they have a variance for it, and they're doing it to hardscape that portion of the right-of-way, which they could. I may be wrong, but I'm not sure it's a requirement that they maintain the hardscaping. I know they have to maintain the access, right? But if there's no vehicle or garage back there, couldn't it be a walkway? Couldn't it be reduced?
Well, we suggested when our late neighbor who died, we put in a ton of gravel under the whole driveway. We had it excavated between him and I, and we put in paving bricks.
Okay.
All of it, okay? And so we had uniform bricks for the whole driveway. if they want to do something on their side, I'm not debating it. It'd be nice if they could match it, but, you know, we can have that discussion. I've mentioned it to the owner, but, you know, it's early days and I'm not sure how tightly connected he is to it. My only concern with their driveway was I was struggling with the height of the driveway as it goes into their garage. And I know there's some rule, and I don't know what that rule is, that when you recess the driveway down, that you have to put a wall up and a railing so people don't fall over this edge. And my concern was only that they, if they want to do that, that's fine at close to the house, but once you get down to the driveway, to the street or the sidewalk, you know, I don't know. But I don't think they're dropping any more than about a foot or something from the garage floor, the way I read the drawings.
Okay. Well, they would be required to submit a grading plan. I don't think they'd be able to inhibit access.
So, you know, if they want to share the mutual drive and have their driveway beside it, I have no issue.
Okay.
It's just if the driveway drops, their driveway, then, you know, how far does this wall come further down?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, thank you for the clarification. No further questions.
All right, any other questions of this resident? No? We can move on to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Hi, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Murray McPherson. I live at 258 CRANBROOKE Avenue on the west side of the property at 254 CRANBROOKE Avenue. My wife and I have lived in this house for the last 27 years. We are in a semi-detached house there, and we have our own private driveway in that house. Similar to as my other neighbour has stated, we have great concerns about the size of this house. Especially, as he said, 42.5% more than the city plan permits. I can say that as an accountant, that a variance of 42.5% would almost never be considered a minor variance. We'd like to see this is a large house, even by the local standards, based on the drawings, as far as I can tell. I'm not an architect. And we are concerned about the size of that and the shade that it will provide in the morning hours particularly. We do not have a flower garden the same as our neighbours, but we do have grass and things, and we'd like to keep it. We do also, sorry, forgive me, we are in concurrence with our neighbour on as to the ground conditions there and the size of the coverage of the lot. We're also concerned, because we don't understand enough about this, about drainage from the new building between our houses, and to make sure that there will not be anything that will impinge on the drainage in our house and potentially cause, I believe it's called electrostatic, I lost the term, sorry, but hydrostatic pressure that could come under the footings of our house into our house if there are drainage issues from the new house, from water flows from this new house. So I don't know if we can ask for guarantees about that or how we deal with that with our neighbours and with our new neighbours on that, but we would like to make sure that we are protected properly from that when the building is built. We can't tell from the driveway if there's any overhang from that, if there are eaves troughs there that will prevent that from happening. So it's quite possible that this will become a non-issue very quickly. We are also concerned also about the trees that are to be injured. The tree that is marked N1 on the tree report is a very large Norwegian spruce, which is actually on our back neighbour's property, but overhangs ours greatly. It also overhangs 258 Brookdale Avenue and 254 Cranbrook. And we're not sure what exactly the injury that is proposed to that tree is, and because we similarly have privacy concerns, because that tree and the other tree that my neighbour was talking about provide a great deal of privacy to our house as well, and that's something we'd like to be able to maintain. I'm just looking at my time. So we have asked Parks, it's not Parks and Forestry isn't the proper name for it, but we've asked them to identify to us what those injuries will be. We have not received a reply to that request for it. The trees also provide significant food shelter for various animals and birds who live in there, and we are concerned about that. I actually have supplied 4 images of this. I've tried to circle the areas that would be in question. I have no idea from this what's going to be injured, what's not, from this tree N1. If you go to the second picture, it's just a different angle of the same tree. And then that is the additional tree that my neighbour talked about, the spruce. And again, you can see there's a lot of privacy at the lower levels from that for us. And we don't know if that tree is to be affected at all or not, because it is not marked on the drawings. So we'd like to just understand what is to happen there and to find out what the proposed injuries are, whether they're minor, what height they're at, etc. So I think my last point is just from our side is, and again, I can't tell, maybe this is too early, is will there be any impacts on our property, even temporarily, during this construction that we will have to address with our new neighbours, just so we understand how, in some ways, if it has to happen, what will happen, when it will happen, how long it will happen for, and what accommodations can be made as needed to address that if it is required. And again, that may just be negotiations with our new neighbours, I don't know. But it's something we'd like to get a better understanding of. So I think it's over 45 seconds, but I think that's about it. If anyone has any questions.
You have 42 seconds.
I got 42 seconds.
If you have anything else you want to add.
I'll make up for Michael.
Okay. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for this resident? I just have one question. Do you have a fence in between your property and?
Yes, there is. There is an old chain link fence between us at the front and at the back, with a hedge going around it at the back of the back of the property.
All right. Thank you very much. So we'll bring the applicant back now to address both of the concerns that you have raised.
Great. And thank you, Madam
Right,
Chairman.
thank
Thank you, committee members.
All right, Mr. Benskowski, can you address the comments that have been made by both neighbors? And particularly, can you address maybe start with the trees? Just there've been.
Madam Chair, that's exactly where I was going to go.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
If we could bring up the arborist report. If we could bring up the arborist report, please. And I believe it's page 1. I don't think we really need to go past page 1. If we could just go down a little bit so we can just see the legend of the trees itself. Sorry, Madam Chair, just while we're here, I did want to address one thing one of the neighbors spoke to. This is not a reverse slope drive. As you can see from here, it is a positive slope at 171.72 to 171.85 at the garage itself. I did just want to just mention that this is not a reverse slope. It is a positive slope. So as you can see from the inventory report here, the 2 trees at the front are being protected by way of, we've angled the driveway and curved it to protect them on the city boulevard, because those are city trees. That is just, again, a protect. The only tree proposed to be removed is a healthy tree and is completely separate from the application that is before you today. The arborist has said that in order to remove the existing wood shed at the rear of the property, which again is unrelated to the application before you today, they are fearful that that will cause some destabilization to the tree itself, and then that tree would be deemed to be not safe. Again, completely separate from the application. It only relates to the removal of that rear shed. In terms of the protection of the Norway maple, as we can see here, it's labeled N1 with the green line that is protecting it. That protection zone is 6.6 meters. We are well outside of that protection zone for that tree. So there will be no harm or anything. You just, when you make an application to urban forestry, you're kind of more speaking to the neighbors than the committee itself. You have to pick injure, remove, or protect. So in this case, it is to protect, as well as we're trying not to injure it by way of putting up the hoarding. And if you can see, the arborist has said it will be done through 2 phases. One will be through putting up the hoarding, and then, which again, only has an encroachment of 1.7% into the protection area. And then phase two will involve pulling back the hoarding to further protect N1. But again, largely, strictly has to do with the removal of the shed at the rear of the property, not the construction of the dwelling, because again, it is significantly proposed out of it. In turn, we also are proposing one new tree to be planted in the rear yard. I'm sure the owners would be happy to speak with the adjacent neighbors about maybe a more suitable location for that than in the middle, which might help some privacy at the rear. But again, in the removal of the one tree, we are proposing to put in another tree in the rear yard.
Sorry, can I just stop you for 1 sec? Just to clarify, the one you're talking about removing is that the blue spruce? The
White cedar.
Oh, the white cedar, okay.
No, the small white cedar.
Oh,
in the
sorry,
rear.
okay. Thank you.
Correct. The Norway spruce is on the adjacent properties to the rear. That's labeled N1, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Is that right?
So just turning back to the variances very briefly, this is a dwelling that at 60% FSI would only permit about 1,646 square feet. That would essentially translate to a 3-bedroom dwelling with a dwelling depth of about 41 feet. In my opinion, due again to the fact that the dwelling can't be increased in width because of that right-of-way, the appropriate way to accommodate some extra square footage would be through the length. In my opinion, with again, there being no request for a height increase for a main wall height, side wall, main wall height, or overall height. And I'm happy, I believe, Madam Chair, the adjacent neighbor to the east was not in favor of the privacy screen, just because he believed it created more mass. I don't disagree with him in this instance. I would leave that in your hands if deemed meritorious. But again, the impact of what we're proposing being 0.96 meters over in length, in my opinion, is appropriate and would not cause any undue impact from a 17-meter depth house. I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Allison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for the applicant, I do see on the site plan drawing, is it, there's a permeable material being proposed for the driveway. Is that correct?
That's correct. Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, Mr. Allison, correct.
Okay, and that would be for the entire driveway, not just the portion of the right-of-way, I presume?
Correct, the entire portion.
Okay, and just a clarifying question, also to speak to a question that came up from one of the neighbors. Is there any elevation difference between the right-of-way and the driveway, or is the intention that that's going to be all one sloped surface?
No, it would have to be maintained as a flat usable surface for both properties at all times. It wouldn't be able to, you know what, Madam Chair, Mr. Allison, now I understand what the neighbor was saying. I didn't quite get it, but when you put it that way, I got it. No, there will not be any change in elevation. It must be maintained and access must be permitted 24 hours, 365 days a year.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
I have a follow-up question regarding your comment about removing the shed is going to affect that tree. What kind of base is that shed? Does it have a foundation?
Madam Chair, I'm not 100% sure. I'm just relying on the arborist report that speaks to that. The arborist report speaks to that specifically, that they don't believe it would be able to accommodate the removal of the shed.
I have trouble understanding that because most of these sheds, I know the area, I know what those sheds look like, and you could probably push it over with your pinky finger, and it wouldn't have a foundation. Sorry?
It is most likely a slab on grade.
I doubt there's even a slab. I bet, well, whatever. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just, again, Madam Chair, just what the arborist report speaks to.
All right, I think that's a bit of a long shot, but does anyone else have any questions of the applicant before we go into committee? No? All right, I think we'll go into committee then to make a decision. Comments?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Kibu?
Yeah, Really just a comment, not a motion at this point. I was, yes, sorry about that. I was saying that based on all the presentations, and then the neighbors made good points, very strong points. What I can see is really regarding the requirement. That is really my concern, not a concern. I feel like the applicant did the job they needed to do. Now, is it enough for us, for this panel, to grant this application? That is the question I'm not able to answer. So maybe I will refer to my colleague to see, to get another point of view.
Yeah, if I may.
Mr. Allison?
Yeah, I think in this case, I think we need to address the immediate adjacencies here. The amount of building depth in relationship to both neighbors is quite a bit. These lots are 110 feet or so deep. They're relatively deep. So by the time you add the house plus the extension for the porch and all that stuff, what you're left with is essentially a parking space at the back, which is very little. I think had the neighboring homes had similar building depths, I would be supportive of it. But I think for the amount that this house or the building depth would facilitate the building coming into the backyard, plus the additional depth or the additional structures that are added on the rear main wall, I think the impact is too great on the immediate neighbors, actually both of them, not just the one with the shallower depth. And you have to also consider too, eventually when the neighbors, if those properties were to be developed, would we expect and want on this street all of the rear main walls to effectively come within, that close to the rear property line? By the time you add your decks and everything, essentially all you're left with is a 20-foot depth at the back. So it's really hard to get away from, to mitigate privacy and all that when you have a building extending that far into the backyard. And I think in this case, a 17-meter building depth would be sufficient. It also seems consistent with more recent developments on the street. To me, at least from looking at it from zooming out, it doesn't look like they extend quite that far back. I don't think there's any precedent on the block for that building depth. So I don't think variance one's supportable, but I think the rest of the project is.
I think I would echo your comments. My concern on this is, number one, it's going to have an impact even at 17 meters on the neighbor's backyard. And 250 is a more recent build. It's not a new build, but it's not one of the original houses, I think. So it's already established. It's not changing for a very long time. And, the semis on the west side are potentially could be redeveloped, but it would take both owners to sell for that to happen. So I think the impact of the building depth in this case is significant, and I would agree with you on that. I think the other variances are reasonable. Would someone like to make a motion?
I just checked Ms. Sankar. Do you have any comments?
No, I'd be happy if you proceeded with a motion.
Okay.
Member Allison.
All right, I'll bring a motion to approve this application in part with refusing variance number 1 for the building depth. I think the additional meter of building depth is going to help a lot in this case to address the impact or ensure that there's not undue impact on the adjacent neighbors. I'll also add, I see we have a transportation a memo requesting some conditions, standard conditions to submit a revised site plan. And I just checked, we have a urban forestry condition. I don't see any, so that will be my motion.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Ms. Sankar? Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? That is unanimous. The application as amended is approved.
Thank you, committee.
Thank you. All right, item 19 is 156 Courtleigh Boulevard. This is an application for a new detached dwelling, and we have one variance for driveway width. On file, we have a survey, plans, an arborist report, and forestry conditions. Do we have the applicant?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm here. My name is Nicole Parr. I'm at 22 Blue Forest Drive, Toronto, Ontario. I'm 3H4W2.
Thank you. And this question may seem redundant, but do you have any changes to make to the application?
I do not.
Thank you. All right, we don't have anybody here to speak to the application. Do we want a presentation? I'm seeing no, but does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair, I have a question. Has the about the memo from let me just confirm the memo about transportation memo suggesting a deferral. What does the applicant think about the memo?
Is there a late transportation?
Sorry,
No?
I think I'm on the wrong. Sorry.
That's okay. 156.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't see any transportation.
No, I don't think there is one. I think we're just, yeah, that's okay. Just a bit of confusion there. All right, so any other questions of the applicant? Are we ready to move into committee? All right, we are in committee. Any comments or a motion? It looks pretty minor to me. Oh, Ms. Sankar, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no comments if my colleagues are okay. I'll just put forward a motion. I agree with you, Madam Chair, that I think it is quite self-explanatory. And I don't see any issues or any comments or anything from even neighbors who might have some concerns. I think it meets the 4 tests. I'll motion to approve this application.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Mr. Fazeli, second. Is there? Yeah. Sorry, Ms. Sankar, are you open for an amendment to?
Yeah.
Yeah, for forestry condition
Yeah,
number
due
1?
to forestry. Sorry, I just
That's
saw
okay.
forestry condition number 1 as I was ticking it off.
That's okay. We
Yeah,
haven't
thank
had
you.
any for a few applications, so fair enough. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? Ms. Sankar, you're in
Thank
favor,
you.
right? Thank you. So that is unanimously approved. Your application's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, application 20, 10 Stibbard Avenue. This is to propose a rear 2-story and front 1-story addition to an existing 2-story dwelling. We have variances for platform encroachment into the front yard, roof eave projections, floor space index, area of a platform at or above the 2nd story, and south side yard setback. On file, we have a survey, plans, site plan, site photos, and a presentation. Do we have our applicant?
Hello, yes.
Hi. Could you please state your
Good
name and
afternoon.
address for the record?
My name is Nina Fant of 16 Markdale Avenue. I'm the agent and architect for the proposal at 10 Stibbard Avenue.
Thank you. And we don't have any residents. There's nobody in the chamber that's wishing to speak. All right. Would we like a presentation? Anyone? Any questions for the applicant? All right. So let's move into committee. I mean, unless you have something you want to say to the committee, we don't need a presentation, and we'll just move into committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All right, we're in committee. Comments or a motion, or both?
Madam Chair, if I may, I think this is a very good application. I think it's a very good example of where a front yard setback variance could be approved. I appreciate the fact that the applicant is working with the existing structure, and you can see that with respect to the front yard setback, it's also a bit of a unique condition in that you got a bit of an angle on the street, so it really only applies to a portion of the building. As for the new front porch and steps, I think it fits within the character of the neighborhood, supports OP policies. So if there's no other comments from other members, I'd be happy to bring a motion to approve the application without condition.
All right, and we have Mr. Fazeli second that motion. All right, all those in favor of this motion? So that's unanimous, carried. The application's been approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so 21 was deferred. We are on to number 22, 40 to 44 Broadway Avenue. Does anybody need a break? I'm just checking. Sorry? Oh,
Yeah, that item, there was a clerical error.
correct, I'm sorry.
So that item's actually for the 4 o'clock time slot.
So we're on hold?
Oh, my goodness. Has this ever happened? So,
Yeah, we gotta wait.
so we will be on hold till 4 o'clock? Thank you. All right, we are back, and we are on item 22, 4044 Broadway Avenue. We have an application to permit an additional 4 stories on an approved 39-story building. We have variances for additional GFA for residential and non-residential uses, additional height above approved height, changes to minimum building setbacks and main wall separation distances, balcony encroachments, minimum parking spaces reduction, and amenity space reduction. And on file, we have a survey, revised plans, superseded plans, cover letter, presentation, a functional servicing memo, shadow study, arborist report, late architectural drawings, and late community planning report. And I believe we have the applicant in front of us.
Yes, that's correct. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Alexander Suriano, a partner with Arid & Burles LLP. I'm legal counsel to the applicant in this matter, Collective Marquis, who is the agent for the owner of the property, the Roman Catholic Episcopal Corporation for the Diocese of Toronto in Canada, or also known as the Archdiocese of Toronto. Madam Chair, we'll be requesting a deferral of our hearing today. Staff and my client have been working hard to resolve all comments with respect to this application. I'm pleased to advise that planning staff has written in support of the application, ECS has written in support of the application, Metrolinx has submitted comments, advisory comments, and has no concerns with the application. Transportation submitted a comment memo dated January 16th, where they requested a deferral in relation to requesting a parking justification study. We did submit one in November. My client has been working to try and address those outstanding comments with Transportation Services. We did receive their comments earlier today, and we understand what those are now. We have submitted updated information to them, but we understand, unfortunately, they have not yet had an opportunity to review it as of yet. So we'd like a deferral to have that opportunity to continue the conversation with Transportation Services and hopefully come back with their consent on this application as well.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? No? All right, so we can take this into committee and make a decision on the deferral. There's nobody else here to speak to the application. All right, committee? Are we, anyone like Ms. Sankar?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'll motion to put forward, I'll motion to defer this application, sine die, to allow the applicant to work with the transportation area to, mutually agree upon the parking spaces and all of that stuff, the studies that need to be done. Sine die, thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Fazeli seconds the application. All those in favor of the deferral request? That's unanimous. Your request has been granted.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to the committee.
Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is number 23, 207 Burnett Avenue. This is an application to construct a new dwelling. We have variances for lot coverage, change to access to a vehicle parking space, number of stories, area of a platform at or above the second story, and height of main pedestrian entrance. On file, we have a survey, plans, tree photos, urban forestry conditions, and a late transportation services report. We have our applicant with us.
Good Good afternoon, Alicia Perry, 326 Shepherd Avenue.
Sorry, we can't hear you. Can you speak a little louder?
My apology, I think my mic was away from me. Ali Shakiri, 326 Shepherd Avenue East. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Do you have any changes to make to the application today?
No, Madam Chair, no change.
Thank you. We don't have anybody here to, any residents to address the application. Does anybody want a presentation? Okay, okay, I don't believe we need a presentation, but we do have some questions for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in the interest of time, I want to focus our discussion on variance number 5 with respect to the pedestrian entrance. If the applicant can just provide a little bit of more information about that variance, specifically if there's any other properties in the immediate or broader context that support 1.4 meter first floor height.
I have submitted some case study for the immediate neighborhood. I'm not quite sure if we focused on the main pedestrian height because it's only 20 centimeters. But if we bring up my support material, perhaps I can find some examples. Can I have my support material displayed? By the way, I have to, while your colleagues are showing my support material, I still don't see it over there. I have to mention that our request, the proposal was 1.61, not 1.4, but it was a typo at 1.4, which for the just for the reason that it would create a delay, we decided to accept it and move forward. If we go to the next page, perhaps if we look at for any not sure if there are lots of decisions over here. We're asking for minimal increase of the first floor. That would help decreasing one interior step. I'm gonna just take a look myself if I find anything first floor height. Well, all in all, I can say that that's very minor and that usually very commonly granted to that extent. We didn't think it would be a concern. That's why I didn't focus on it. Just bear with me for a second. Looking at no, I don't have any precedent submitted for that particular item yet. Just comparing to the surrounding neighborhood, I think that is, we believe that's minor, but we didn't think that would be a concern. I don't have any supporting material for the first floor height.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant, or are we ready to move into committee? Looks like we don't. All right, let's go into committee. Comments? I also agree, I know it's pretty minor, the variance for the main pedestrian entrance, but it isn't characteristic of the neighborhood. And the topography is very flat in that area from what I can tell. So it just gives me some concern in setting a precedent for higher and higher, and is it because the building's higher? Is it, there's no height variances, but it still gives me a bit of concern.
Yeah, I think I also worry too in terms of, I mean, the areas, it's pretty evident that the relationship of the front door to the street in this is pretty low in this neighborhood. A lot of the homes have, 1-2 steps and you're at the door. I do recognize there are some houses that have a couple of steps, but I don't think they're above 1.2 either. So I think this is one of the cases where you can have a variance that from a quantitative standpoint is minor, but it's still, it has to be more than just saying, well, it's only 1 step. I think there in some cases, and in this case, I think there needs to be some justification to open the door to a first floor height above 1.2 meters. The rest of the application, I don't have any concern with. I think I'm willing to support. I think it's a small modification that can be made. If my colleagues don't have any concern or comments, I'm happy to bring a motion. See where it goes. Okay, I'll bring a motion to approve the subject application in part with the refusal of variance number 5 with respect to the height of the first floor entrance above established grade. I also would like to attach the standard urban forestry. Just give me a moment here. Urban forestry number 1. Did we get some late transportation comments that came in, Mr. Fazeli? Sorry, I don't see it. Just the urban forestry 1. That's that. Okay. Yeah. Staff, can we just please, yeah. Yeah, no, I just want to make sure there's no conditions in there, standard? None? Okay. Madam Chair, that's my motion. I apologize. There are conditions, so I will amend to include the, let's pull those up, actually. Yeah. Just, if we can scroll down. Thank you. Yeah, we get our standard, yeah. And I will include the recommendations in the transportation report with that.
I second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Unanimous, Mr. Kibu, did you? Oh, sorry, thanks. You were too fast with your hand. All right, that's unanimous. Your application as amended is approved.
Thank you.
On to item 24, 46 Ridge Hill Drive. Application for a 3-story dwelling with covered rear deck and second and third floor balconies. We have variances for rear deck, east and west side yards, floor space index, number of platforms on a rear wall, east and west side yard setbacks, front platform encroachment into front yard setback, and area of a platform. On file, we have survey, plans, presentation, arborist report, Metrolinx comments, letters of support from 22, 35, and 48 Ridge Hill Road. And the applicant, do we have the applicant online? Not sure which one we're getting. Yeah. Okay.
I'm the planner for the owners of the property at 46 Ridge Hill.
Hello, we can't hear you.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, you still need to talk a little closer to the mic, maybe.
Sure. My name is Tay Rook. I'm the planner for the owners of the property at 46 Ridge Hill Road.
Thank you. Do you have any changes to make to the application today?
No, Madam Chair, I do not.
All right, thank you. We don't seem to have anybody else here on this application. Do we need a presentation committee? No? Yep, we have a question for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just with respect to the variances for the side yard setbacks, I do recognize that there is a increased setback on the third story and sort of use of angular planes as well. I just wonder if there's any objection to tying the side yard setback variances to the two side elevations. Actually, more specifically, the north and south elevations, just to ensure that those variances will only apply to the first two stories.
Oh, I see. I understand what you're saying, sir. Yes, we have no problems with that. As you can see, that the original house on the east side is actually closer to the lot line. This new proposal recenters the house and it's evenly distributed on site. And if you see my submission materials, that the side yard setbacks, this is pretty common throughout the neighborhood. But we have no issues with tying it to the elevations as suggested.
Okay, just to confirm, the north and south elevations, which are the front and rear elevation, I stand corrected, dated December 18th, 2024. Those are the correct, most recent drawings?
Correct.
Okay. All right, no further questions.
Any other comments or questions for the applicant? Do you have any objection to a condition that the rear covered porch remain unenclosed? Yeah.
No objection there.
Sorry, I'm asking the applicant.
I thought you were asking me to put a motion for it.
Just because I'm looking at you doesn't
No
mean
objections, Madam Chair.
Sorry, that.
No objections, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Allison, if you'd like to make a motion.
I would. This project, and the reason I did is because I think this is a good application. I think it does push the limits a little bit with respect to the massing, but I think it's done in a very clear and sensible way, particularly with respect to the way that the third story is treated. And that also supports a higher FSI variance. So for those reasons, I'll bring a motion to approve the application conditional on tying to the north and south elevation. The variances for the side yard setback. Just give me a moment. Number 5 and 6, to tie number 5 and 6 to the north and south elevation drawings as well.
Substantially in accordance?
Yeah, thank you. Substantially in accordance with the north and south elevation drawings. And also that the rear porch shall remain open.
All right, do we have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Kibu? Second? Sorry? Yeah. Open and, sure, open and unenclosed. Unenclosed, I think, captures it, but yeah. Rear covered porch, yeah. No, that's okay. It's better to be clear. Okay, so we have a seconder. Are all those in favor of this application? That is unanimous. The application has been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, item number 25, 125 Citation Drive. This is an application for a new two-story detached dwelling. We have variances for front yard setback, rear deck projection, building length, front exterior main wall height, and coverage. On file, we have a survey, superseded plans, revised plans, an arborist report, site plan, supporting materials, including a TRCA permit, ravine and natural features protection comments, and urban forestry, and a community planning report. Do we have our applicant?
Madam Chair, I believe it's Mr. David Bronskill. We've tried to unmute him without success.
Mr. Bronskill? Maybe he's having technical difficulties. No. Oh, Mr. Bronskill, are you with us? He didn't expect us to be this far along in the, which is fair.
Perhaps we can stand that matter down for now, Madam Chair.
Okay, we'll move on to 26 in the interim. 168 Empress Avenue. It's an application for a new detached dwelling. And we have variances for height of east side main wall and front and rear main walls, number of stories, lot coverage, area of a platform at or above the second story, exterior stair width, and east and west side yard setbacks. On file, we have survey, plans, and an arborist report. And we have our applicant in front of us, I believe.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, member of the committee. My name is Mehran Haidari, 1090 Dunmills Road, Unit 516, North Stroke, Ontario.
Thank you. Do you have any changes to make to the application?
No.
No. Okay. There's nobody here to speak to this application. Do we want a presentation? Or we may have some questions if we don't need a presentation. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Allison.
Perhaps if we could just focus on the front main wall height variance. This is sort of my only concern right now. It would be helpful just to get a little bit more information to support that. It falls under variance number 1.
Yeah, if you look at the sheet A00 and my drawing that I submitted, it shows the 3D of the house, and you see the architectural design that we picked here, and we have the side wall beside the entrance. So all those walls and also two bay windows on the side, it's considering as a side of the height. And also if you look at to the drawing A10 and A11. So what we have here, we have the sidewall height showing here. The gray area is the wall that is for architectural feature that beside the entrance. And the bylaw allows us to have 30% over the bylaw, over the sidewall height that is 7.5 meter. So this is just for this portion that is here and is slightly more than 30%. This is why we have this variance. And also on the drawing A11, if you see the A11, we have the bay window that to accompany the windows for the second floor on the bay window, we exceeding this part as well. And the only things that you have here, so it's just some portion of the wall that is exceeding 30% more than the 7.5 meter.
Can we focus specifically on the front main wall? I mean, I certainly see your point with respect to the varied heights on the side elevation, but on the front elevation, it's just 10 meters all the way across.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering if you have any planning rationale to support that height across the entire front main wall.
Yeah, actually, this is the design that we picked for the in front of the house. You know, I personally believe picking the 10 meter and the wall on the front, making the house unique and also match with the new trend. If you have a search on the area, most of the house that is under construction right now is like this, and because of the bylaw allows us to have the 30% 10 meter height. So when we have this option on the bylaw, we are going to use it for making the differentiating, because we like to have the different house design in the city, and we need to have the different view and to covering the different taste of the people that living in the city. So, you know, I believe changing the bylaw, for example, we have these changes of the bylaw 2023 on the November. So after a change, we, as a designer, trying to pick the option that we can have the differentiation between the house on the street and make a unique house. So this is why we are always trying to have the higher architectural feature at the front that shows the house is more beautiful and more designing.
Right. If I think about purpose and intent, right? I often think where you may only be allowed, 40% or a certain percentage of one elevation to exceed a certain height.
Yes.
You typically think that might manifest in the way of a gable structure or something or an architectural feature on one side opposed to the entire front main wall. But to your point, you did note that there were a number of newer properties that are under construction that are similar. Do you have any examples or addresses that have that condition where you've taken the
Yes.
10 meters across the entire front?
Yes, actually, so I can address some of the project that I personally designed, for example, 323 Empress Avenue, so 28 Citation. So I have lots of the project, and also I got approval here, 27 Citation, same. 5 White Lock, again, same. So we have lots of the sample in the North York that we pick this kind of design after the bylaw has changed.
Okay, sorry, the example you gave is 328 Empress?
323 Empress.
Sorry?
323 Empress Avenue.
323. Okay, thank you. No further questions.
You're welcome.
What are the floor heights for the first and second, or sorry, the main and the second story? What are the ceiling heights?
So yeah, the ceiling height, if you look at the drawing here, so let me show you. Yeah, main floor is the floor to floor is the 11. It means the clear, we have the 10 foot 10 main floor. And the second floor, we have yes, if you look at the drawing A12, we have the dimension of the interior height of the room, 10.10 main floor, second floor 10.2.
All right. So that 10 meters, if I'm looking at the front elevation, the A08, that 10 meters is to the top of the front main wall. That's 10 meters.
Yes.
7.5 meters would be significantly less, I guess.
Yeah, you know, the bylaw is 10 meter maximum height.
Right.
And the 7.5 meter sidewall height up to the eaves, from the established grade to the eaves. And the bylaw allows us to have the 30%
Right.
for 10 meter. So what we have here is a slightly more than 30%. This is the only variance that we have. But
And
the
slightly-
concept is, is a 50.
Slightly more means what?
So yeah, I have, if you look at the drawing, let me show you here. So if you look at the drawing A10 at the left top of the elevation, the number is actually in this elevation we are not exceeding the 30%.
You're not exceeding, you said?
Yeah, we comply in the east elevation. With the west elevation, we comply. In the east elevation, we have the 61%. Yeah, because the bay window is more exceeding.
Okay.
Yeah, in the middle part, if you see there is the 3 window on the side, is a bay window. And because of the bay window definition that we need 70% glazing, so this is why we have to make it the bigger to have the enough glazing for the bay window.
All right.
Yeah, this elevation that you see here, we don't exceed the 30%. This gray portion at the front is just architectural feature. It's not the main wall of the building. It's just architectural feature.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Does anyone have any other comments on it? Are you ready to take it into committee? All right, I think we will take this into committee then. Comments?
I'm curious to, on, I'm just taking a look at the first variance, and it's, the requirement states that it's for either A or B, not and. It's, so, you know, taking that into consideration, I think I could, you know, given the fact that I think in terms of the side main walls, I think those do a good job. They come pretty close. You're looking at 54% where 60 is required. The front main wall, there's nothing.
Yeah.
But I did note it does say A or B. So, yeah, so that's, you know, if the requirement is for either A or B, and the applicant is, you know, putting forth that the requirement with the side main wall, right? I think the examiner kind of points it out there. It's 54%. I'm satisfied, but you know, I just think there's a lot. Again, this is we've had a similar application as today, where, you know, you apply things to mediate the size of the massing at the sides and at the back, but then at the front you just sort of ignore that and you go all the way up, and it's and I think a lot of it, frankly, is just sort of done to kind of, you know, impress, show, you know. But I think from a fit standpoint in a neighborhood, it does cause a little bit of concern when you look at certainly the immediate context, right? There aren't any houses with a 10-meter front main wall on the block, so there's a little bit of concern with respect to massing in that respect. But I'm curious what my colleagues might have to say on it.
Does anyone else have comments on it? I mean, there's nobody else complaining about it. Does it have a big impact on the neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, I do recognize too, Empress does have a bit of, there is a variation in terms of the building form in this part of the city. There isn't as much consistency, and I think that speaks to a bit of the character. Maybe there's a little bit of give in that respect. Yeah, no further comment.
All right. I guess we need a motion from someone. If they'd be willing to make it. one further comment. I think we should tie it to the elevation drawings. All the elevation drawings?
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, Mr. Fazeli was.
Yes. I think I've heard the colleagues' comments, and given the context of the neighborhood, I think it is somehow I would say would be like kind of supportive. So I would put forward a motion to approve the application. I believe, given the explanation and what we have, what I see in front of me, would satisfy the floor test, in my opinion. I was just, 1 second, 25. There are no other conditions, no. This is my motion.
Would you tie it to the?
Yes, I would tie subject, the condition is the tie to side elevations, substantially with accordance.
All right, thank you.
I'd be willing to second that motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allison. All those in favor of this application? That is unanimous. Your application is approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Did we find Mr. Bronskill?
Madam Chair, I believe he is present.
Okay.
Madam Chair, my apologies. When I hit the unmute button, my computer sort of exploded, but then I somehow managed to log on and I was unmuted. So I hope I've been very quiet for the last presentation.
No problem. It happens to all of us. All
Thank you.
right, so back to 125 Citation Drive. This is an application for a new two-story dwelling, variances for front yard setback, rear deck projection, building length, front exterior main wall height, and coverage. And on file, we have a survey, superseded plans, revised plans, arborist report, site plan, supporting materials, including a TRCA permit, ravine and natural feature protection, a TRCA report, urban forestry, and a community planning report. Do you have any modifications to the application at this time?
Yes, Madam Chair. I should, first of all, last name is Bronskill, first initial B for David,
Thank you.
333 Bay Street, Suite 3400, Toronto, Ontario. Madam Chair, there is a planning staff report that confirms the revisions that are on the plans in front of you, but those revisions were made to the plans to secure the support of planning staff after the notice had gone out. So I do have to make sure that I go on the record to confirm the modifications that are listed in the staff report. And there are 4, Madam Chair, to the 5 variances. The first, Madam Chair, variance 1 is the front yard setback. And sorry, Madam Chair, I should say, in all instances, these are reducing the scope of the variances such that I don't think they would therefore require new notice. And what I mean by that is, as example, variance 1, instead of being a request for a 6 meter setback, it's increased to 6.76. The rear deck projection is reduced. This is variance 2, is reduced from 4.47 to 4.17. The building length, which is variance 3, is reduced from 18.57 to 17.73. And the 5th variance, variance 5, as a result of a couple of the changes, the coverage comes under 34, so it's changed from 34.26 to 33.96. And then, Madam Chair, just while that report's open, they've also recommended 2 conditions of approval. Those conditions are acceptable to my client, and I would urge them, in fact, upon the committee, they are conditions that tie things to the site plan that's on file as revised with the committee, and in fact attached as attachment 1 to the staff report. It also ties it to the elevation, which include some exterior light fixtures that are dark sky compliant, and they would also be on the plans windows and clear balconies to identify bird-friendly treatment. So both of those conditions are acceptable and frankly appropriate given the nature of the variances. And then there is an analysis from staff in the balance of the staff report, and we thank them for engaging, where they actually go further than they sometimes do and give their opinion that the proposal, as it's revised, they note it's consistent with the pattern of development. They note it maintains the intent of the OP and zoning bylaw. They give the opinion it's minor, and they also give the opinion that it should be considered appropriate for development of the site.
Thank you for your thorough presentation. Do we have any questions of the applicant? No? All right. Are we ready to take this into committee? Yes? All right. Thank you. We're going to take it into committee now. Comments?
No one? Through you, Madam Chair. I'm ready to make a motion if there are no comments.
All right.
I think the applicant did a good job of making the adjustments as per staff report. For that reason, I think those variances are satisfying the floor test. So I forward the motion to approve the application as amended. Variance number 1 changes to 6.76. Variance number 2 changed to 4.17. Variance number 3 changed to 17.73. And variance number 5 changed to 33.96%. Also, I would like to subject this to the conditions that are stated in the staff report, and applicant agreed to those. Do I need to read those conditions? No.
No.
And also forestry, urban forestry condition number 2. I believe yes, the ravine and TRC, there are no objections. Nothing. That is my motion.
Thank you for your motion. Do we have a seconder?
I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. All those in favor of the application? All right, that's unanimous. Excuse me. The application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we are now on application 27, 496 Melrose Avenue. This is an application to construct a new dwelling with a rear deck and balcony. We have variances for a platform encroachment into the front yard, driveway width, lot coverage, number of stories, maximum height of main wall height including parapet, number of platforms on rear walls, west side yard setback, and area of a platform. On file, we have a survey, plans, cover letter, a presentation, photos, a forestry memo, and a community planning report. We have our applicant in front of us. All right.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Trevor Gain. I'm the applicant and agent here on behalf of the owners.
All right, and do you have any changes to make to the application?
No, none at all.
All right, thank you. We do not have anybody to speak to this application. Do we want a presentation? Some questions?
The clarification question, if the applicant is okay with the staff report about the condition, variance number 8?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I just want to speak to that. So when speaking with city planning, this is it's a new house, but it's basically a substantial demolition. So it's really a renovation, but because we have to take the second floor walls down because they're rotting, we're more than 50% retained. So we're keeping that existing wall, and in conversations with city planning is that, okay, if that wall stays, they accept the variance. But in the wording of the planning report, they're speaking specifically to the retained wall. However, we have about 8 feet behind that we're going back on that setback and up on that setback. So I think the intent was there, but the wording is not. So I just don't want to have any trouble with zoning examiners if we just read it blank and it looks like we only can maintain that 29 centimeter variance for that portion of the wall only. So I think in the staff report, when he attached the plan, he really should have said, tie the application substantially in accordance to plan. And if you want to go even further, we can tie it to all the plans, because in the the basement plan, the ground floor plan, we show what's being retained and what's being removed. So I leave that in your hands, but in theory, in the long answer, yeah, I have no problem with the planning report.
I find the recommendation in the staff report to be a little confusing, frankly. Yeah.
I think maybe instead of only apply, it should say reflects the as-built condition, but it should extend to the
Can we just
entire.
tie it to the
Can I,
site
can I
plan?
speak, or are we in committee now?
Sorry, are we, no, we're still
Okay.
asking questions.
So
We're
just
okay.
the way the zoning works is that we're allowed to go back on and up on the existing setback.
Right.
So as a renovation, we wouldn't be here, but because it's substantial demolition, we need the variance, and right? So, and that's when I talked to city planning, and that's what he's saying. So I think what he's trying to say is that he doesn't want my owner to demolish everything completely and come in brand new. We have to maintain that wall, which we're going to, but it's just a little vague in that it's supposed to be that whole wall, which is why I think he submitted the site plan. So like I said, if you want to tie it to the site plan, tie it to the plan submitted, that might help me with zoning, because I think it's a little worded weirdly.
Can we think of a better way to say it? Yeah. I think it would. Because the site plan shows the existing, and it shows where the new part is. So if we tie it to site plan, that should satisfy the condition. I think that's what they were trying to achieve. Yeah.
Thank you. No more questions.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Now we'll take it into committee for some discussion and/or a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd also, perhaps, if I may, like to add, I think this application does a really good job with respect to mitigating the height. You know, we see these typologies a lot, and I think it's one of those that is kind of very sensible to its context. I don't have any issue with respect to the setback. I do recognize it is you know, where there are existing conditions, I think we definitely should put weight on that. I think we start getting into technical things where you say, well, you demolish a certain part of the wall, therefore that does apply or doesn't apply. But I think logic would kind of carry forward to say, let's, regardless of what happens, let's allow, like, you know, and to permit that without having any issue of what part of the wall they end up maintaining or not. So I wouldn't be comfortable tying to that community planning report, but I would tie to the site plan, if my colleagues agree.
Sure. Would you like to make a motion?
Sure,
to that
make
effect?
a motion to approve the application, tie the side yard setback to the site plan, as well as urban forestry number 1.
Substantially in accordance.
Yes, thank you. As well, adding the wording substantially in accordance with. With respect to I think there was some comment about the elevations. I don't think we need to tie to elevations in this case, unless anybody feels it's necessary.
No.
So just site plan to the side yard setback variance.
All right. And do we have a seconder for that? Mr. Fazeli. All right. All those in favor of the motion? All right, that's unanimous. Your application's been approved. Thank you. Okay, 28 is 197 Goulding Avenue. To construct a new fourplex and convert the existing garage in the back into a garden suite. All right. We have variances for east side yard, front yard setback, lot coverage, parking spot in a front yard. On file, we have a survey, plans, transportation services memo, an urban forestry memo, and 2 letters of objection from 264 Homewood Avenue and 195 Goulding Avenue. Do we have our applicant?
Hello, everyone. This is Andrew, the designer and owner of the project at 197 Goulding Avenue.
Welcome. And your address?
197 Goulding Avenue.
Thank you. Do you have any changes to make to the application before we start?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Do we want a presentation on this one? Yeah, I think so too. All right, if you could provide us a brief presentation on this, it would be helpful.
So we want to construct 4 units in the primary building and also convert the existing garage in the backyard into a garden suite. So what we are not complying with the zoning bylaw is number 1, front yard setback. We are deciding to keep the existing main wall line to construct the building. And secondly, we're gonna have one of the side yard setback 1.22 meters instead of the allowed minimum 1.8 meters. And thirdly, our lot coverage is exceeding the required minimum 30% to the 35.2%. And also we are intending to design the driveway in the front yard. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions?
Through you, Madam Chair, just standard procedure about like a transportation. There are no objections, but the conditions. Just want to ask the applicant they're aware of it.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Are we, okay, go ahead, Mr. Allison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to provide the applicant an opportunity just to give us a little bit of information about some support for that front yard setback. I just noticed, we've got some balconies at the 3rd story and whatnot, and it would be helpful to get a little bit of planning rationale to support a building of this size and massing being brought forward closer towards the street, particularly in relationship to both immediate neighbors.
The reason we decide to keep the front yard setback, not able to meet the front yard setback, because we don't want to push the house too much into the backyard, because we are also having a garden suite. I want to make sure there's enough distance between the 2 buildings to keep their privacy.
Could you not just reduce the size of the house altogether, or that's not possible?
We are not willing to do that because we want to provide the residents a higher standard of the space feeling, gonna be more luxury, more spacious, and this is our intention.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, any other questions? No? All right, yes, so we have at least one neighbor, correct? All right. So if we could have the neighbor now.
Hello.
Hello. If you could say your name and address,
hear me?
please. Yes, we can hear you. Could you state your name and address, please?
Yeah, Nasser and Ismaili, 195 Goulding Avenue, adjacent to this building.
Thank you. All right, you can go ahead and give us your comments.
Yeah. Good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity that you gave me to speak today and share our concerns. I want at first say that really I'm fully supporting my neighbors' desire to create their dream home, and I try to maintain a positive attitude toward them. I understand that how this procedure is important for them and want to have a solution that works for everyone. But anyway, I do have some concerns about how the proposed variances can impact our property and overall character of our neighborhood. And my goal today is to express these concerns and looking for a resolution that considers both my neighbor's vision and preserve our property's value, privacy, and enjoyment at the same time. Let me shorten my concerns. First, and the most important thing for us is the setback in the east side of the building. They have reduced that setback from 1.8 meters to 1.22. We are in the east side of that building, and our dining room is in the east side of that building. We have one window there, and if they reduce this setback, this distance, we will lose our natural light, privacy, and also our view. Right now, we have the sky view from that window. But I believe that if they construct this building, which is very high and very closer to our building, we will lose that window completely unfunctional, and it will be completely unfunctional. I have already provided you the location of our window, and if you see, it's exactly in the front of that wall, and that is like. The second thing that I want to share with you is about the setback in front yard. According to regulation, it's supposed to be the average of the buildings, both sides of that. If you see the Google map, and also the map that was provided by the neighbor in A103, both the buildings have the same line in the front yard, but this building will come forward around maybe more than 1 meter. And it means that the harmony of the view of our building will be lost. And also, I think that our building will be really very in the back of that building. The other thing that I want to share is about the oversight, this huge building. It is 35%, while it's supposed to be 30%. And it is fourplex in a lot that right now is a single family house. I believe that this street doesn't have the capacity to have 4 families instead of 1 family in this lot. 4 family means 4 cars, means a lot of different people there, and I believe that the characteristic of our neighborhood, which is right now one of the most beautiful neighborhoods in the North York, will be completely different over time if this building be the model of the new construction and other buildings. I don't think that we have any 3-story building in this street and even in this neighborhood. 3-story building, 4 family, 4plex, 1 garden suite means that a lot of different change that has been applied in this lot. I want to have some review on this building, and I appreciate your consideration for this matter. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you very much. Do we only have the 1 resident? Yes? Yeah, okay.
We are family.
Sorry?
My family. Right now we are 2, I and my husband. That's all.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
In our building.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the resident? No? The neighbor? No? All right, thank you very much. We'll go back to the applicant to hear from her responses to the concerns raised by the neighbor.
Through you, Madam Chair, if
Yeah.
the applicant also could just briefly reflect on the letter of objections that we have.
Right.
Just address those as well, that would be great.
Okay.
Excuse me, what's the objections?
There are two letters of objection that are on the Application Information Center that have been sent in. So the resident you just heard speaking, I believe, so we have a letter on, if staff could, there we go. That's one of the letters up on the screen right now. That's the neighbor who just spoke. And then we had another additional letter that came in.
As to the neighbor's concern, I appreciate that someone bring up this their opinion, and my answer to that is what we are doing is under the governing of the City of Toronto, of the multi-units. We are not building more than 5 units in the lot, which is the maximum permitted by the city. And I understand her concern, but this is gonna be the future trend of the City of Toronto, which has an enlarging population, and we have to deal with this issue. As to the letter of this this objection, this is my first look at this one. Give me a few minutes, please. And to be honestly, without building this fourplex, I have been observing that in our neighborhood, a lot of bungalow is containing few families. They are renting out to the different, maybe friends or different tenants. And this is, I don't think this is an issue. We are just making a legally fourplex. Also, while building this, making this proposal, we try to keep the existing landscape. For example, the hedge between our property and the 195, this is almost 13 feet, which gonna provide a lot of privacy to both residents. And also, we're gonna increase more greenery in our property to not making the 5 residents in our property feel too busy or lose the privacy. We intended to provide a good living environment to all people around here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? No? All right. All right, we're going to take this into committee to make a decision on it. Does anyone want to start? Go ahead, Mr. Allison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think, it's hard with these applications because they're, the EON policies are relatively new, and they are designed to accommodate these, multi-unit buildings, right? I think, in this case, I think those EON policies are working really well. You look at the quality of the units inside the building, the 4 units, they're very, very nice units. They've got very big floor plates. My concern is with these is when we do see variances for these types of projects, the question that I have is, where already the bylaw is being a lot more lenient. I think we have to recognize that if this was being proposed as a single family home or 1 unit, you'd probably have more variances on here. One that I'll just give you, FAR. So the one that strikes me, and actually before I should also note that I think these applications are really important to get right, because they're the first ones to come through in the neighborhood, and they're really a test, right? So once this gets built, people are going to look at it and say, does this fit, right? And if they don't fit, the policies aren't going to be successful, right? So the variance I have some trouble with is variance number 2 for the front yard setback. It is a lot of, to the neighbor's comment, it is a lot of massing. And I think we just need to be mindful that this does not stick out really. It really does fit. The difference of the 0.8 meters on the front yard setback is going to do nothing to the interior floor plate in terms of accommodating a good floor plate. But it will give me the assurance that when this is built, all the checks and measures should be in place to ensure that this is a good fit. In terms of the side yard and the rear, I think everything checks out really, really nicely. I do question the staircase on the side. I'm not even sure that'd be approved at the building permit stage. I'm not sure why the stair is accessible to the flat roof, the top, whether that is, but it's not. But it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't really relate to the variances, so I'm just going to set it aside. But yeah, I would say aside from that front yard setback, I'm supportive of this. Also note on the front yard setback, you have a pretty substantial balcony too. So you have a balcony, again, you're activating that facade, and you just want to make sure that that's not sticking out further than the other dwellings. There's certainly enough room on the lot to accommodate this project without that variance, so.
I'll just add to that. I think the fact that there is a balcony in a multiplex, it's going to possibly be used more than,
absolutely,
in a detached dwelling application.
Yeah.
I share your concerns with you. I think that the EHON policies support the nature of this development, but I think it still needs to fit in with the neighborhood in terms of the prevailing character of setbacks and that kind of thing. And I think a lot of thought was put into those policies and the bylaw, corresponding bylaw changes to permit these. So I share with you the same concern about that front yard setback. I don't love the side yard setback, but I can live with that one. And the other variances don't really give me an issue because the coverage is due to the garden suite, I think. So, it facilitates the additional housing units. But yeah, I just have a problem with that front yard setback as well, because I think it sets a precedent.
Yeah, with respect to the side yard, you take into consideration the overall length and depth of the building, and it's almost right in line with the adjacent neighbor that it affects. So I'm more lenient on that side yard setback.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion?
Sure. I'll bring a motion to approve the subject application in part with the refusal of the variance number 2 for the front yard setback. Also putting in urban forestry conditions number 2, number 3, and the recommendations noted in the transportation report.
All right. Do we have a seconder? Mr. Kibu? All right. All those in favor? That application as amended is approved. Sorry?
Thank you very much, everyone.
Oh, all right. Number 29, 47 REINER Road. This is an application for a new dwelling. We have variances for main pedestrian entrance height, number of stories, area of a platform at or above the second story. On file, we have a survey, plans, tree photos, an urban forestry memo, and a letter of objection from 45 REINER Road. Do we have the applicant here?
Ali Shakeri, 326 Shepherd Avenue East. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon again. Do you have any changes to make to the application?
No, Madam Chair, no change.
Thank you. We do have a neighbor here. So if you could make a brief presentation, please.
Sure. If I have my supporting material displayed, we're asking for 3 variances. Usually, no coverage here, no building height, no wall height. Most of the applications coming in the area, they're asking for those sort of variances that are dealing with the building mass. None of these variances we're asking here are dealing with the building mass. If we zoom in at that first page, that graph, the building section, the reason we're asking for the 3 stories is that the basement, if we're trying to minimize the excavation depth, if we dig some 2 feet deeper, 2 out of 3 variances are going to be eliminated, naming the 3-story and the area of the rear deck. That deck is considered not technically on the 2nd floor, that it's triggering a variance. However, if we had to dig the basement further, both of those variances would be deleted. The digging, excessive digging of the basement is, well, it's invasive to the nature. It is triggering the need of shoring. It might be hazardous to the neighbors. The height of the basement is going to be too much and not needed. It's not energy efficient. It increases the number of steps, not in keeping with the functional layout of a house. Some other issues might be also triggered, connecting the basement water and source. The basement sanitary to the street might sometimes need to be through a sewer ejector. There are so many technical issues, so that's why we're asking for that variance. If we go to the other page, for this one, luckily I submitted some surrounding houses with so many steps in front of them. This is the adjacent house, number 49. I think you can count there like 11 steps. These are very immediate. Number 41 across the street, 11 or 12. I'm not sure, at least 11, but maybe 12 steps. And the next page is maybe 10 or 11. You can count, but definitely more than what we're asking here. So all in all, I think we're not asking for any variance here that is increasing the building mass, and we think it's minor. Hopefully you agree. I have no further comment. Happy to answer any question. Thank you.
Just for clarification, the rear balcony, is that off the main floor?
Yes, Madam Chair, that's off the main floor, as I mentioned, because the basement in this case is technically considered the 1st floor. It is below grade, but it's considered the 1st floor.
Okay.
That's why the deck that every other house has it, maybe even larger than this case, is considered a variance.
Okay, and there's no balcony at the 2nd story level, at the story above the main level?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, there is no balcony there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
No? All right. Yep. All right, now we will hear from the neighbor. Mr. or Mrs. Godfrey?
My name is Stephen Godfrey. My wife Glenda is on in a separate connection here as well. We are the homeowners of 45 REINER Road, immediately to the east of the site in question.
Okay, thank you. You can go ahead and give us your comments.
Thank you. So we submitted this letter, as you can see, and we are not opposed to the construction of a new home on the site. That's obviously where the neighborhood has been going for the last number of years, and we certainly welcome the new addition. We do have a couple of objections, however, to the variances that are being proposed. The first one was related to the third story, and there was some, I was confused about this, so I appreciate the additional information there. So if that's going to be the case, and if as long as the height of the overall height of the house is in line with the other houses in the neighborhood, I don't have an objection to that. The objection was because we anticipated a third story being much higher, much taller than the other houses around us. So that could be discussed. However, there are two other variances that we do significantly oppose. One is the eastern lot line setback, which would be the area between our two houses. The proposal is to reduce it from 3.58 meters down to 1.22 meters. We see this as fairly significant. That's 2.36 meters, or more than 7.5 feet. So we see that as a very significant encroachment onto the area between the two houses, which could heighten the risk of water sitting in that area if there's less softscape available for drainage. It also significantly encroaches on natural light between the two houses, and a severe reduction in space between those two as well, which I think aesthetically really puts it out of character with the other houses in the neighborhood. And then the other variance is related to the larger area of the balcony at the back of the home. Again, related to what the applicant just said. If it is considered now the main floor as opposed to the second floor, that may change things, but I still think the area is fairly significant, as the variance requested was more than 3.5 times what the bylaw is for the area of that balcony. I don't know how much that changes if it's considered main floor versus second floor now, but our objection was related to the overall area of that, as it would significantly encroach on again, natural light and privacy and our ability to enjoy our property outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the resident? No? All right. We'll give it back to the applicant then to address the concerns of the neighbor.
So just to clarify, Madam Chair, do we want to hear from Mrs. Godfrey, or?
Well, they have.
No. We speak together. Yes.
Usually we just take one, but thank you. Oh, okay. Did you want to add anything? Yeah, okay. All right. I think we're good. All right, Mr. Shakari, could you please address the comments of the resident, of the neighbor?
So I was mentioning that I'm glad to hear that the neighbors' concern over the third story in the rear balcony area are addressed. With regards to the side yard, we are not asking for any variance for the side yard. As a matter of fact, the side yard proposed here, which is not a variance, is similar to what neighbor has at number 45. Both of them, that the regulation, that the bylaw requires a side yard of greater than 1.2 meter. We are at that, and there is no variance for the side yard. Again, we don't have any building height variance and anything related to the building mass for this project. I find it very minor, and no further comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of the applicant? Mr. Allison, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for the applicant. I'm just wondering if there's been any discussion with the other immediate neighbor that stemmed around sight lines or privacy screening on the one side of the deck directly adjacent.
No, to the best of my knowledge, there hasn't been any discussion with the other neighbor. However, that neighbor, I showed the photo of that house. Perhaps it is a taller building with a rear deck and all the features that this house has. However, because it was done at a prior time, perhaps that's why the three-story perhaps hasn't come up, because that's that was done under the different bylaw. But that is a new house, very tall, has the same concept of 2 floors over garage, and I don't believe if there is any objection from their side.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you.
All right. So we will take this into committee then?
Through you, Madam Chair, if there are no comments, I'm ready to make a motion. No comments? Yeah, I think the applicant explained and addressed the concerns. There's no sideline setback, and also the explanation about the balcony and then basement being considered as first, and so the explanation satisfied me. I think I would like to forward a motion to approve this application. It satisfies the 4 tests, subject to condition forestry number 1. That is my motion.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
I'm happy to second that. I might also add, I do acknowledge that there is some pretty high front door elevations in this neighborhood.
Yes.
It's pretty
common
and characteristic. So
yeah, I would agree. All right, so we have a motion before us. Could we have a vote on this motion? Everyone in favor? That is unanimous, approved. Application has been approved.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Okay, application 30, 2 DIVADALE Drive. This is an application for a new 2-story detached dwelling. And we have variances for rear deck projection, driveway elevation, height of a building, height of side exterior main walls, main pedestrian entrance above established grade, building length, building depth, front yard setback, and east and west side yards. Oops, 1 second here. In support, we have a survey, superseded plan, revised plans, email, revised plan, arborist report, tree preservation plan, site photos, presentation, a community planning report, 3 letters of support, and 1 letter of objection. We have our applicant here.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and honorable community members. My name is Lamor Benmore Mizrahi of LB Mizrahi Architect, Inc. at 321 Hidden Trail, North York, Ontario. I am the architect and agent for the proposed dwelling.
Thank you. First of all, do you have any changes to make to the application today?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. We do have several revisions that were made and are in the revised drawings you see before you. A revised notice was issued but has not been uploaded on the AIC. I can explain these revisions in my presentation.
Okay, we do have someone that would like to speak to this application. So if you could, let's start with the public meeting notice and identifying the changes to the variances, please.
Sure. So following our discussions with planning staff, and as per the staff report before you, we had made several revisions to better comply with the zoning and the requests of the Leaside Residents Association. And they're as follows. Variance 6 and 7 concerning building length and depth. The proposed building length has been revised from 21.29 and is now 20.99 meters. The proposed building depth has been revised and is now 21.81 meters instead of 22.11 meter.
All right, other variances?
Variance number 2 concerning the elevation of the garage entrance. The proposed elevation of the garage has been revised to 147.60 instead of 147.45. It is now the same as the existing garage level. And I'd add that transportation had no issue with this variance. And variance number 9, if I may.
147.
The proposed east side yard setback has been modified and is now 0.74 meters from the property line instead of 0.59.
Sorry, could you just repeat that one?
Sure. The proposed east side yard setback has been modified and is now 0.74 meters from the property line instead of 0.59.
Thank you.
Yeah.
East side yard. And any additional?
Not that no.
And that east side yard was variance 9, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So if you could provide us with a brief presentation on your application.
Sure. 2 Divadale Drive is located within an established North Leaside residential neighborhood with several 2-story infill developments on the same street, constituting various design styles and massing. It's seen on the next page. Our proposal consists of a typical 2-story dwelling with integral garage on the lower level in the transitional architectural style. Prior to this hearing, packages were circulated to 15 of the surrounding neighbors, including an explanation of the requested variances. We've received 3 submitted letters of support, and no opposition has been submitted with the exception of the Ratepayers Association. Submission of a tree assessment and preservation plan by our arborist has been made to Urban Forestry, and the assistant planner is currently waiting on the notice of decision. We are applying for 9 minor variances, all of which are attributed to existing conditions of the lot, including its odd, irregular, angular shape and slope. Following our discussions with planning staff, and as I mentioned, we have made several revisions. So I've mentioned variances 6 and 7 concerning building length and depth. These variances are both due to the odd shape of the lot and the way the measurement is taken. The actual building length and depth, not including the first story near rear extension, is 19.07. And this is illustrated on the site plan on slides numbers 5 and 6. With comparable notices of decision shown on the map on slide number 11. Variance 2, as I mentioned, has now been revised to 147.6. It is shown on the front elevation on slide number 7. This is also to comply with the planning staff's recommendation. Variance number 9, as mentioned, this proposed east side yard setback that's been modified to 0.74 only occurs at the front portion of the house as the property line flares out towards the rear. In addition, the existing garage is at 0.06 meters from the property line. The proposed west side yard setback variance is 0.89 and only occurs towards the last third of the house at the rear and is in line with the existing setback on the west side. The rest of the house complies with the side yard setback zoning bylaw and does not have any implications on privacy for the neighbors as it backs on the rear of their properties. Please refer to the site plan on slides number 5 and 6 again. And you can see on map number 10, the slide number 10, showing the comparable side yard setbacks approved in the area. I'll now speak to variances number 1, 3, 4, and 8. The first variance concerns the rear deck's depth and its height above the ground. The proposed rear deck projects 5.49 meters from the rear wall and proposed to be 2.01 meters above grade. As seen on the site plan on page 5 of the slide, the proposed variance projection at the rear terrace is triggered by the height above ground and is in line with the access from the breakfast room. This height is due to the slope nature of the lot. The requested depths are in line with many homes of similar slope conditions in the area, including 27 Divadale Drive, 16 Ratford Avenue, and 37 Rowley Avenue. Variances number 3, building height, 4, main wall height, 5, height of pedestrian entrance, are all minor in nature and in line with notices of decisions of many homes in the area as shown on the map on slide number 9. They are all a result of the slope nature of the lot and how these heights are measured, which is illustrated in the front and west elevations on slides number 7 and 8. The eighth variance concerns the minimum front yard setback. The required minimum front yard setback is 7.15. Our proposal is 6.45. This variance is attributed to the angular nature of the lot and has an overage of a small triangular section of the garage. The rest of the house complies with this bylaw. If you referred to site plan on slides number 5 and 6, you'll see in the yellow that small portion that shows the overage. The proposed house is designed to be an integral part of the neighborhood and its natural surroundings. It complies with both lot coverage and floor space index bylaws. And when considering the requested minor variances in relation to the development in the area, it's our contention that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is maintained and the requested variances are minor in nature. We maintain our application meets the 4 tests and respectfully seek approval for the relief of the variances for the proposed dwelling brought forth to you today. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Allison?
Just curious about the modification on the building length and depth.
Yeah.
What did the 0.2 meters achieve? Is there a discussion with planning for that revision? I can barely tell the difference on the site plan. It's like, was it based on other precedent in the area, or?
Yeah, there's, if you can see on the map on slide number 11, there's many. But the planning staff requested this revision, I guess because of the comparable notices of decision in the area, and so we adhered to it.
Okay. All right, thanks.
It's also really weird shaped lot. Like if you look at the site plan, it kind of flares out in the end, so it's constrained to the 2 sides at the front, and then kind of at the rear, it's just massive.
I do acknowledge that, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions at this point? No? All right, so we will go to the neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Hello? Do we have the neighbor on the line? Mr. or Mrs. Gregory, I think? Hello? It's one of those. You are unmuted. Can you hear us? You don't need to do anything with your microphone, correct? Staff take care of that. So,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, there. All right. Success.
All right, am I able to be heard? I'm sorry.
Yes, you are. No problem. Could you start with your name and
Okay,
address?
thank you. Yes, I will. Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Lucan Gregory. I am appearing from 297 Bessborough Drive, which borders the rear of the property on the west side. I am concerned with variance 1 that is seeking to raise the height of the rear deck to 2 meters above grade and more than doubles its permitted extension to 5.49 meters behind the rear wall. This will raise the deck to the height, if not higher, than the fence between the properties. And as a primary social area, this will inevitably increase the volume and noise and impact privacy. I would like to know what steps are being taken to mitigate this impact. Will a barrier on this terrace extend proportionally upwards to mitigate the noise? And what might this barrier be? While I appreciate this height variance to permit access to the proposed breakfast room, I would note this justification has been boosted by other variances which are raising the height of the entire house. Furthermore, it does not justify doubling the rear projection. This variance is not due to the odd shape of the lot, as my friend has repeatedly stated. So I would like to hear about the raising of this and the extending of this and the impact on the noise and the privacy and what might be done to mitigate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we can have the applicant back to address the concern of the neighbor.
Hi, through you, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair. With regard to this terrace, there is a slope at the rear, and the terrace is pretty far away from any neighbor. You know, if you look at the site plan, if we could just pull that up. So as far as mitigation, yeah, there you go. As far as mitigation, we have, I don't know if you see it, there's a retaining wall there. There's a lot of foliage and trees. We will be able to, you know, through the fencing, through more foliage, screen that whole area, and that would create quite a buffer. Let me just see the, I just want to see if it's indeed. Yeah, since we don't have a grading plan as yet for there, for that area. The actual ground level in that area is probably even higher. So I'm not sure we even need that many steps. But as far as the concerns for screening, there will be a lot of screening. There's naturally screening there, but there will be even more screening once we're done. So you can see by, you know, there's a landscape architect involved, and they will be planning this thoroughly. So I don't think there should be any worry about overlook or any noise levels for this house.
In the interim, if you were to plant, and it would take some time for the plant material to fill in, would there be any benefit to some sort of privacy screening on that? I'm not sure which side that is, that it would affect the neighbor who's speaking.
Yeah, it's on the west side.
On the west side, yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely add privacy screening on the west side of that balcony or the upper terrace. But again, there are very large 30 diameter trees all along that whole line, buffering them. So I don't know how good that screening would do, because it actually extends out further. I think there are some photos on the site photos that you can actually look at to see the amount of, you see right now there's like, you know, that fence, and it's in line with the fence, the edge of the house. So the terrace would be in this area where you see all this foliage that's already there.
Okay, just thought I'd ask the question. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I don't think that should be a real worry.
All right. Any other further questions for the applicant? No? All right, we'll take this into committee to make a decision. Does anybody want to start the conversation?
All right, I'll jump in. It's a really, first of all, I want to say I'm glad to see that there's been some dialogue with planning to kind of hone in some of these variances. I'm glad to see some of the modifications that were made. I will speak briefly to the kind of uniqueness of this lot. You know, right where the rear main wall is being proposed, the lot actually has a fairly significant side yard setback, actually right at that point. There's a pretty good buffer zone. And the adjacency to the immediate neighbors, their rear yards, there's a considerable amount of, I think, distance as a buffer zone. Generally, normally I might be concerned with a projection of a platform of this size, but I think there's a sufficient setback, not only on the neighboring properties via the rear yard condition, but just via the unique configuration of that jolt of the or the bump out of the side yard, particularly at that point. And I don't. I think a lot of those impacts, if there are any, would best be mitigated with some plantings of some sort rather than a privacy screen. With respect to the overall depth and length, I'm satisfied. In this case, there's going to be no undue impact on the adjacent neighbors. I would, however, I think it would be important to tie such a condition for length and depth to the site plan, just noting that there is a smaller bump out at the rear that accommodates that. It's not the entire building depth. Yeah, they're my comments. I don't know if my colleagues have any other concerns or comments.
No, I think I agree with your comments, and I think staff were recommending that building length and depth be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan. Their other comment regarding the water technical review for the reverse slope, it's not reverse slope, right? No?
That's a good, yeah, they did a modification to increase that
elevation.
Take a look at that. That might, so for variance number 2, which deals with the that height, it's been modified to down here. 147.6.
Oh, so maybe it still needs it.
So
I take it 147.84 is the standard. So
yeah,
the bylaw standard probably relates to that. So
yeah,
if it's below that.
That's how I read it.
Okay, so
yeah.
we'll leave that condition in from staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
I just, I'll ask staff, we've been given a number of modifications. Do I need to read them out?
For this one, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
It might be a good idea, yeah. Okay, so we'll start with variance number 2. Is a modification to 147.6. Variance number 6, which relates to the building length, has been modified to 20.99. Variance number 7, regarding the building depth, that's been modified to 21.81 meters. And variance number 9, with respect to the east side yard setback, that's been improved to 0.74 meters. Did I captured everything? All right. So with that said, I'll make a motion to approve those variances as modified. And I don't see any other conditions from staff or forestry, so that's my motion. Oh, hold on. We need to tie as well. Yeah. It's in the late. Just give me a moment here. In the late package. Just miss this in the tabs. Help me out. Mr. Fazeli, just going to jump in and help me out with the, there's a community planning condition. We just,
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and the recommendations in the community planning report, yes, as we discussed, the building length and depth shall be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan. And then Madam Chair did note the condition that relates specifically to the reverse slope. So I'd like to add in those 2 recommendations as well. We tied, yeah, and the site plan that we're tying to is in that, it's attached to that report. We do have an updated site plan with the length and building depth. Just staff make sure that we're attaching to the correct site plan there. I will note it's in our file, but I'll just see if it's in the staff report, we can attach to that. Otherwise, I'll give you. Yeah.
It appears to have been sent on January 7th.
It's going to be the site plan dated.
We have a superseded plan and we have a revised plan. I take it it's the revised plan?
Going to be the revised plan, December 13th, I see the date.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. There's two site plans in the package, so we'll be the site plan, the revised site plan. The first one's November 6th, and the second one is December. Correct.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, it's the revised site plan that we have on file dated December 13th, 2024.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Mr. Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. And that's going to replace the plan in the staff report. The condition is the same, but we're going to reference, we have to reference the revised site plan with the revised date of December 13th.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we need a seconder for that. Mr. Fazeli, thank you. All in favor? That's unanimous. The application has been approved. All right.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay. And then we have 396 Courtleigh Boulevard, item number 31. This is to convert the existing residential property into a day nursery with an ancillary place of worship. And hold on a sec. So the variances are for floor space index, parking spaces in a front yard, and ancillary building or structure. On file, we have supporting material, previous decisions, photos, a late transportation services memo. And okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, we have actually a second late transportation correspondence by email that we'll put up for you.
Thank you. Do we have the agent?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
My name's Russell Fleischer with Turner Fleischer Architects, 67 Lesmore Road, Toronto.
Thank you. And, all right, do you have any changes to make to the application at this point?
No changes. And we've reviewed the latest memo from traffic, and all it is providing a few more details related to the front yard parking.
Just give us a minute for staff to put it up for us to see, because we haven't seen the latest one. No.
I believe this is the earlier one that's up there. Yeah, this is it.
Through you, Madam
Yes.
Chair, is it the new email that I can see? It's not asking for deferral anymore, just to clarify?
No, this is the new.
For the staff, if they could clarify this.
Looks pretty standard stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so it's just asking for conditions to update the site plan at this point. Yeah, which we can make a condition if we were to approve it. All right. Do we want a presentation on this? Brief? Do we want a brief presentation?
Happy to give a presentation. if anyone really wants, getting late, I'm the last.
I mean, I think we understand the nature of the application. I guess if there's anything you would like to bring to our attention, I did have a question about the nature of the mechanical units. What are those?
Okay. So I'll just give just a quick discussion on the floor space index. So it's a brand new build with 2 garages, and we converting the building to be used for a day nursery. So we're not adding to the form of the building. All we're doing is enclosing the garages and deleting one of the staircases, and that relates to additional GFA because the garage is not part of the GFA. So the built form is not changing at all. In terms of the front yard parking, it was designed with 2 driveways. As I said, we're getting rid of the garages, so those will become in the front yard parking, which is on Courtleigh. It's on the corner of Bathurst, and it doesn't make sense to put we wouldn't get a curb cut to put the parking in the rear yard. So we've maintained it where the driveways were, which I think is reasonable. There's 2 condensing units, one in the back and one in the front. The one in the front yard is obviously the variance that we require. There's an immediately adjacent to the mechanical room is where we're putting it. So in the front right corner of the building, or the east or the southeast corner as you're looking at it now, is where the mechanical room is, and that's why putting the compressor or condensing unit adjacent to that makes sense. We want to use as much of the rear yard as possible as playground for the day nursery. So that's why we want to put one of the units in the front and one of the units in the rear of the thing. And the idea is it's just a mechanical unit. It's not a structure. And the idea is we'll obviously plant coniferous trees all around it and obviously screen it from view. And if you look at the middle photo that you got on the screen now, it's sort of to the right there where the construction debris is at the moment. So it's a brand new build that was never occupied that we're converting, just for a bit of the history, so the committee can understand that.
So my question is, why does that mechanical unit have to sit out in the middle of the front lawn? Is it, which it appears to on the front plan?
Yeah, it is. It's immediately adjacent to the mechanical room, which is, if you go down to the next drawing, if you go scroll down, so it's on the right-hand side, immediately in the front. So if you look there, you see on the bottom right where your cursor is, that's where the mechanical room is. So obviously, for ease of construction, et cetera, it's located adjacent to that mechanical room.
But couldn't it be closer to the structure, to the house, the building? It just seems odd to be sitting out in the middle.
We could move it, absolutely, we could move it closer. We could move it immediately adjacent to the structure, if that's the committee's request.
It just seems, I mean, I know you're going to screen it, but it would be, I think it would look better if it was closer to the building.
Sure, we could adjust that. If it's a concern of committees, we could move it as close as possible.
It's just a air conditioner or a heat pump?
It's a condenser unit. It's that thing that swirls. It's a metal unit that's got a fan on the top, basically.
I'm
typical
surprised.
what you see on the side of a house.
I'm a bit surprised you have them both on the same side of the building. I would think you would need.
It's just because of the new, it's the new configuration of the classrooms that we need the additional air compared to what would be for a single family house. Because the occupancy of the classrooms are obviously more, there's obviously more occupancy in this than they're going to be in a house. So we need a bit of a higher load, mainly for air conditioning rather than for heating. So that's the general idea.
All right. Any other questions?
I'm just curious about the proposed recycling and garbage bins in the front as well. I'm just wondering, what's the justification for placing those in the front yard? Or is there an opportunity to place those at the side of the building such that they may not be as visible from the street?
Yeah, we could. We could propose them in the side of the building. We could put them adjacent to those to the parking spot on the side of the building on the east side, if that's.
Yeah. we can. Is the fence proposed along the Bathurst Street side of the property?
Yes, there will be one.
What do you think? Do they combine it with the mechanical unit? Don't have to, no. I mean, I think I'd leave it up to the applicant to do that. I just think it would look better, even for their own benefit, to have,
Absolutely.
to move those things. I mean, because I assume
Yeah, I
you're
agree with
just, you just have residential pickup, right, for your waste? You're not getting a
That's all.
commercial, yeah.
No.
So you don't have,
Exactly.
you know, areas that you have to dimension for that purpose.
No, there's no big compact or anything. They'll just be those blue or green bins. It's a residential
I
standard.
would imagine maybe there's some issue with fire route. I don't know, you know, whether you have to meet certain requirements by the provincial government for exit of the building or something like that, that maybe the garbage containers might get in the way if they're in the side yard. I don't know. I leave it up to you.
No, we'll resolve it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I trust you can take care of it. Do you think it should be? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a functioning thing of where it has to be, but it could certainly be closer to the structure, the building.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't need to, I mean, if this was a house, you wouldn't put your air conditioner unit in the middle of your front lawn. You would put it as close to the house as you could put it. Oh, they're not. No, that's why we have the variance. That's right. I might have that. All right. So if we have no other questions, I guess we take it into committee. Thank you. All right.
Thank you very much.
Any other
Madam Chair.
comments on this? We could say that it should be within, I don't know. What do you think?
I think you get into issues because I think there's certain condenser units that require a setback from
Yeah,
a
true.
structure, 2 feet or whatever have you. I
don't feel that.
I think it's also, I think frankly, it's we're already kind of really pushing this with the amount of parking that's being integrated, the removal of the integral garage. You got to think about the use too, right? You can have a lot of traffic, and I just want to make sure that this is not a sort of unfair impact to the adjacent neighbor. They put all of the condensing units very close to the property line, front and backyard. I think that could easily be fixed by locating them elsewhere on the property. I mean, they could even be located to the roof. They could be wall mounted on the side, so they could still maintain access. Ideally on the side of the major road. Yeah. It just seems there's a lot going on in the front yard. In terms and then you know while it's an as of right, you still have to deal with all of the garbage and the recycling. So my concern is what this property is going to end up looking like in the front yard. I don't see any variances for soft yard landscaping, but I question how much you can really maintain what's left by the time you put in all of your servicing and infrastructure and parking in the front. So I think we have to be mindful too. This is directly adjacent to an R zone with detached single family homes in most cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have to comply with a certain amount of soft landscaping in their front yard. So I worry about the transition aspect of it. So I'd be willing to support all of the variances with the exception of the air conditioning unit in the front yard. I think that there has to be some more consideration given. I think you got to stop somewhere with the front yard. It can't just be all utilitarian and. Yeah, and from a desirability aspect, I mean, as the adjacent neighbor, the property, I think that's a lot to put.
Well, and I also think, look at the number of daycares we've done before with conversions of existing residential dwellings, and they're putting them in, and we're not getting this request. This is a brand-new build.
Yeah.
Which has a bit more flexibility, and they're making changes, internal changes and other changes.
Oh, they've
to
got almost the entire interior of the building.
Yeah.
I imagine the HVAC system, from what they're proposing, is going to be reconfigured as well.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely correct.
So
I can comment. I'm not much.
Sorry, we're in committee, so you're not actually able to comment now. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think by not having the mechanical unit there, particularly in the middle of the front lawn, there'd be the potential to maybe plant a tree, heaven forbid.
Yeah.
Even a street tree.
Bit of a buffer zone to the immediate neighbor.
Okay.
All right, we get ready for a motion? Okay, I'll bring a motion to approve this application in part. All of the variances with the exception of the variance number 4, yes. Yeah, refusal of variance number 4, approval of variance number 1, 2, and 3. And as well, the comments from noted in the transportation report.
Mr. Fazeli seconds the motion. All in favor? That is unanimously carried. The application has been approved as amended. All right, that concludes.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair and the committee.
Thank you, and this concludes our meeting. So do we have a motion for adjournment? Do we need that?
Sure, time is 6:05. I'll bring a motion to adjourn the hearing.
Thank you. All right, all in favor? Meeting adjourned.